I'm gonna compare Berlin, Germany to Moscow, Russia. Moscow is about 3 times larger. So let's first start with Germany. Let's zoom in here. And let's put the little man like right there. Okay, and then let's pick a place in Moscow. Let's zoom in. And let's put the little man like right here. Okay, we'll start with Germany. So what I can see is I see some cheap little cars. I see a Mercedes truck. I see this yellow and green type of building, very plain. Lots of grass, trees in the area. Grass not well maintained, that's for sure. I see like a quad in here. So it's a little residential area. I see some graffiti here. Some more cars. These cars look a little better, but they're still not very expensive cars. I see something blurred out, so and another area blurred out, so they care about their privacy. Maybe the Germans in Berlin are a little bit afraid of one another. And here's some more graffiti. Okay, now let's take a look at here in Russia. I see a lot less green, lot less grass, more like concrete. I see some very large buildings. The cars are also not too expensive, but I do see some larger cars. Like this is it looks like a Jeep. There's some very large buildings, or apartment type of buildings. And one thing that I noticed in Moscow is that there isn't like much graffiti and nothing is really blurred out. So I think people are a bit more open, and they, well, it seems a lot cleaner because, well, there's no graffiti. Let's kind of go over here and take a look here. So these buildings are also kind of old, but they seem well maintained, and, well, because I don't see any graffiti, I think it might be better, like a nicer, cleaner area. Let's go over to here in Germany. Let's pick a different place in Berlin. Let's maybe pick something closer to the middle here, to the center. Let's go right here. And in Moscow, we'll pick a different place also. We'll closer to the city. We'll go like right here, maybe like this part of the city. Okay, so these are again like plain buildings, nothing really special. It doesn't even look that nice. I mean, let's see, these cars are again like cheap looking cars. There's graffiti again. They've got these this protection on the windows, like someone's gonna maybe throw a rock at it. So people are maybe afraid that someone's gonna throw rocks at their windows or maybe break in. Again, things are blurred out, but there's a lot of trees. The roads are a little narrow. Again, more graffiti. Graffiti everywhere. Kind of cheap looking cars. Some cars, most cars look like Germans. Like I think this is a BMW. So there's more graffiti. Like this building looks kind of destroyed or very old. Some people walking, some construction here. Okay, let's look at Moscow now. Okay, so there's some cars. And these cars are looking nice. Again, they're not like really expensive cars. And again, I don't see any graffiti. And these buildings look well maintained. This car looks like it has some rust on it. This looks like some type of old communist car, but it looks kind of cool. Okay. So again, I don't see any graffiti, so it seems like people in Russia or Moscow, well, they say they are not as wealthy, but they try to maintain their buildings and their area where they live a lot more. I thought maybe I saw graffiti there, but it's not. So that's one thing I'm really surprised about Moscow, is that they seem to take care of their things a lot better. So let's pick a different part of Moscow. Let's maybe pick right here. And then we'll pick a different part of Berlin. Also, we'll pick maybe a different part, maybe here on the west. Let's go right there. So this is Berlin. This looks like a really nice store, people sitting. This looks like fake grass, maybe some type of carpet. I don't know, I don't really like fake grass, but I don't know, I guess people like it. This looks like a really cheap car. So even though Germans make really nice cars, they drive some really cheap cars, like this car. This car looks nice, but these are some really cheap ones. I think this is a French car. So I don't see any graffiti in this part, so maybe this is a nicer part of the city. And these buildings look really nice, they kind of look modern. This is a smaller road. Again, very cheap cars. Okay, so this looks really nice. No graffiti. Okay, let's look at Moscow. So these are, again, very large buildings, but again, there's a lot more people living in Moscow. About 3 times more. Doesn't seem like there's any graffiti. I mean, the parking could probably be better. Looks like there's some sand right here. I mean, this building doesn't look the most attractive. It looks like, I think these are all balconies, and then people like build windows on them to increase space in their apartments. So that doesn't look too nice. This looks like a really large car. Looks a Chevy Tahoe. So what I can see is that in Russia they seem to like cars, and some of them drive better cars than people in Berlin. Now, even though people in Berlin make more money, they seem to drive cars that are smaller and less expensive. Like this is an expensive car. But maybe like in Russia they have cheaper gas, I'm not sure, you know. And I'm kind of surprised that they drive a lot of American cars. Like here's a Dodge. While in Germany they mostly drive like German or other European cars. Like this is an expensive car also. Here's an American car. Okay, let's see these cars here in Germany. They're very small and cheap looking cars. Now some people do have nice cars also, but it's kind of expected because it's a wealthier country. Let's pick a different part of Germany. Let's go more towards the center. Here's the center. We'll pick something like right there. Yeah, maybe right here. And then in Moscow, we'll pick something closer to the center also. Now, I've never been to any of these countries or cities. But I have looked at Google Maps before, and I've made Google Map videos before, reviews. Okay, we'll pick a city. I mean, the road like right there. Okay, so this is Moscow, Russia again, and these buildings look really nice, and they're old, like historic buildings. And again, there's no graffiti anywhere. The roads are very, very wide. And it looks really nice. And again, there's some very expensive cars. Like this is a Land Rover. Here's some Mercedes. Very expensive cars. They really like cars in Russia. And look at this. This is a really expensive car. Here's a Lexus. Expensive like Lexus again. Another Lexus. Maybe that's the same one, because I think this car is driving behind. Look at this car. This is like an $80,000 car. This is another expensive car. And these buildings look really nice. A very wide building, so that's positive. Again, expensive car. I'm not even sure what this is. Maybe this is a Hyundai, I'm not sure. Let's look at Germany. And so not as wide of a road, and it seems like this is a one-way road. And look, this car is not that cheap. I mean, this car is cheap. It's like a little Volkswagen Golf. Again, like these cars look normal cars. This was a kind of expensive car. Out here, I don't see any graffiti, but these buildings don't look as nice as the ones in Moscow. And look, this is a very cheap car. I mean, cheap cars everywhere. This is a kind of expensive car here. Okay, let's maybe pick a different part of Berlin and see if there's expensive or cheap cars. Let's pick like right there. So this is a nice building right here. There's some people walking. They're building a lot of things, a lot of ads on the buildings, but looks Looks like they're in construction. This is a picture. Let's go somewhere where we can actually walk around. Let's go right there. Okay, so again, these cars are not very expensive cars. This is a nice building. Again, I don't see very expensive cars here anywhere, and the cars are smaller. Now this car is expensive. But again, it's like one car. But look at these. Let's pick another area of Moscow. Let's pick this bridge here. So I think this is a Ford. And yeah, so in Moscow they drive a lot more American cars also, compared to Germany. This is like I think an Acura. Look, expensive, really expensive. Expensive car. Very nice buildings. So to me, it seems like Moscow is a nicer city, and it seems like they really like nice cars. And I think it seems like a nicer city just because they don't have as much graffiti in the area, and they really have nice buildings. I mean, Germany also has nice buildings, but they have a lot more graffiti. And another thing I noticed about Moscow is they seem to like these expensive cars, and there's really no need to drive really expensive cars. I mean, unless you really have a lot of money, and I'm sure not all these people have a lot of money. Compared to, look, expensive. Compared to, look, there's just like the metro. I mean, compared to like Germany, let's pick another place here. It's also a very nice city, but like the inner city is nice and clean. But like if you go outside the city, there's a lot more graffiti. And oh, here's another area. I mean, this sidewalk doesn't look nice. I mean, look, there's like graffiti everywhere. And this building doesn't look nice at all. And look, they just drive. They live within their means. They don't purchase expensive cars like the Russians do. Just very cheap cars. More cheap cars. I mean, this is maybe a little more expensive, but they're still not that expensive cars. So like the Germans make expensive cars, and they sell them to like the Russians. And then, you know, the Germans enjoy life, but maybe they travel more. I'm not sure, but look, they've got some type of tower there. Let's pick another place here in Russia. Another thing I noticed about Moscow from one of my other videos I made is that they have some very large or tall buildings that I haven't seen in Berlin. So that's another difference. So overall, I think Moscow is a little nicer in some ways, but then I'm not sure what the people are like in either city. So I can't really. I would have to live in the city for at least a month or so, just to compare how the people are like. And here's like one of the cheaper cars, but look, all expensive. And they're really well-maintained buildings. And some of these buildings look really interesting. Like they have some really different designs that I've ever seen. But in Germany also. But let's pick one more spot here in Berlin. Let's go like right here to the Return of the Cows. Okay, so all these buildings are blurred out again because people want their privacy in Berlin, like they're afraid of something. And all these are like, these windows are like closed because they don't want people to break in. Look at all this graffiti everywhere. Like, I'm not sure if they're like gangs in Germany or what, but I don't know, this doesn't look nice. And all these cars are very, very cheap. They're just average cars compared to what the Russians drive. So that's my review of Berlin and Moscow.